The role of vaccines is to prime our immune system to prevent the disease rather than curing the disease. This means that these vaccines have to be tested on healthy individuals in order to see if they increase their immune power or not. But these healthy individuals can run the risk of adverse effects that could make them more sick than the viruses themselves. And also these vaccinations are mainly deployed for millions of people, so they have to pass through significant tests and protocols to determine whether the vaccines induce immune response or not, whether they are safe or not, what are the proper doses for administration, what are the proper routes of administrations. So these are all the things that have to be determined, and it can take several years, and also they have to be tested on thousands of people. Scientists from China released the fully sequenced genome of the novel coronavirus in late January 2020. After this, several government labs and drug companies were in a race to develop a cure for novel coronavirus. Now, in terms of vaccine, US is moving in a very rapid pace, but still it will take a year to year and a half to produce vaccines enough to deploy. Also, it's tough to find investors for this matter of vaccine development because it's unreliable. This is not a chronic disease. It's not going to last long. This can disappear at the same speed it has appeared. History is the proof. So it's not a huge money maker, and investors have no confidence in investing at such vaccines. Moderna, a biotechnology company, is currently leading this race. They are using a new technology where mRNA is used to develop the vaccine against the novel coronavirus. It took them about 42 days after the coronavirus genome was sequenced, which is really fast. They are also planning to start a small-scale human trial in Seattle, Washington, which is the place where the outbreak started in the United States. The company further reported that while a commercially available vaccine is not likely to be available for at least 12 to 18 months, it is possible that under emergency use, a vaccine could be available to some people, possibly including healthcare professionals, in the fall of 2020. Other companies such as Johnson & Johnson, Sanofi, they are working with BARDA, Biochemical Advanced Research and Development Authority, to produce vaccines against coronavirus as soon as possible. Speaking of Moderna, it's a very interesting way of how they are developing this vaccine. Usually it takes a long time to make a vaccine resembling a complete virus. So they took a sequence from the virus mRNA that is used for coding spike protein, and they encoded this sequence into a lab prepared mRNA. Now this mRNA is injected into lymph nodes where it translates the same spike proteins as that of novel coronavirus. Our immune system will now detect this spike protein. It will produce antibodies, and that's how we develop immunity against the coronavirus. Okay, so what is a coronavirus vaccine? Vaccine is a biological preparation that provides active acquired immunity to a particular infectious disease. So in case of coronavirus, the vaccine provides immunity against the coronavirus. Here I have drawn a very simple sketch of coronavirus. So as you can see here, this is the outer envelope which contains the S protein or spike proteins that are present on the surface of the virus, along with M proteins here, which are also known as membrane proteins, and we have the RNA. Coronavirus is the RNA virus. Okay, so the coronavirus vaccine. So the coronavirus vaccine will contain an agent that will represent this virus. Okay, so coronavirus vaccine will contain something from the virus. It could be S proteins or M proteins or even RNA that will represent the coronavirus. Okay, some agents, not virus itself, but some agents that resembles the virus, so that when we inject this vaccine into the human body, this will act as an antigen. Okay, so the vaccine contains any of these proteins present in the virus, and when we inject this vaccine into the human body, we know that these proteins are normally not present inside the human body, so they will act as antigen, and now these antigen will be taken up by the antigen presenting cells, also known as dendritic cells. Okay, so these antigen will be taken up by dendritic cells, and these dendritic cells will present this antigen to T cells. Yeah, also these antigens can be taken up by B cells, and B cells also do the same. They will present this antigen to T cells. Now these T cells, or they are naive T cells, means they have the receptor for this antigen but they are not activated. So when they are presented with this antigen from these cells, these cells get activated and it will form activated T cells. Okay, so they will proliferate and they will form activated T cells, and these activated T cells will produce certain cytokines here. They will produce certain cytokines such as interleukin 4, interleukin 5, and these cytokines will now activate the B cells. So B cells will start proliferating now. So these are activated B cells. Okay, so when the B cells gets activated, they will differentiate into plasma cells. So the B cells will form plasma cells, and we know what plasma cells do. They will form antibodies. Okay, so they will form antibodies against this antigen right here. Now these proliferated B cells and these proliferated T cells, many of these actually they die. Okay, so many of these they will die, but some of them, okay, so some of the B cells, activated B cells, and some of the activated T cells, they will remain, they won't die, they will remain as memory cells. Okay, so they will remain as memory cells. Now what does the memory cells do is that later on, in later span of time, when the actual coronavirus, okay, so when this actual coronavirus gets inside our body, attacks our body, then this coronavirus here, I'm drawing here, these will be taken up by these memory cells now. Okay, because these memory cells, they know that they recognize this coronavirus because they have already recognized its antigen, right? So they recognize this coronavirus. Okay, these memory cells will recognize this coronavirus and they will produce antibodies in a much faster way. So they will produce antibodies in a very rapid way, and these antibodies will coat all the coronaviruses. Okay, they will bind with the coronaviruses. So antibodies will bind the coronaviruses, and these viruses will now be destroyed by complement system. Opsonization. They'll get opsonized and they'll get destroyed by the complement system, and thus the virus cannot show its effect. So that's how the vaccine works in our body.